Schönen Nachmittag, meine Damen und Herren. Willkommen bei unserem Webinar Dublin Airport. Ich werde jetzt in Englisch weitersprechen, da einige unserer Teilnehmer sich aus Irland auch eingeloggt haben. Welcome everybody to our webinar on Dublin Airport. I think I'll start right away. We have a very interesting and agenda today. We'll start off with the Capital Investment Program 2020, presented by Mark and Brian of the Dublin Airport Authority. Go over to some questions and answers, continue with a discussion, first presentation on public procurement and cross-border service delivery in Ireland. And then we do a short wrap-up, and I hope we can welcome you soon over here in Ireland to work with us more closely on business opportunities. But let's start off right away. Let me welcome Mark of the Dublin Airport Authority, who will start right away with his presentation on the Capital Investment Program 2020 Plus.
Thank you very much.
The floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Finnegan. I'm the Masterplan Implementation Manager for Dublin Airport. And I'm going to bring you today briefly through the proposed capital investment program for Dublin Airport, which commences on the 1st of January next year and rolls for 5 years, and it's a very substantial investment program in capital infrastructure over that period. But before I do, my first step will be to walk you through what is the driver for this. Why is Dublin Airport seeing such strong growth over this period of time? And one of the principal reasons is the economic stability and growth that the country of Ireland has seen over the recent number of years, and we foresee happening over the next number of years. Ireland has significant economic stability and is one of the fastest growing economies in Europe or globally. And accompanying that, we're seeing very strong growth in our carrier base. Principally, we have two large base carriers in Ireland, Aer Lingus and Ryanair, and we're the single largest base for Ryanair in Europe. So very strong growth in those carriers over the last number of years, double-digit growth, and we expect to see that continuing over the next number of years. Also, the change in the aircraft fleet. This is a game changer for Europe, for Ireland. We're going to see narrow body, smaller aircraft, which currently travel between Ireland and Europe, with having the capacity to reach the east coast of America. So it's going to mean that an aircraft can fly out of Frankfurt in the morning, arrive into Dublin. Passengers can be pre-screened through our pre-screening facility, which means that they're now cleared to go through American customs, and then get onto the same plane again and fly into America. And this is a game changer, and Dublin has a geographic advantage in that aircraft leaving Ireland can reach the east coast of America. So this is a game changer, and it's going to change the market over the next 5 years significantly for all involved, and Dublin being at the front of that. And notably, our national aviation policy. Our government had the foresight to see that this game change in aircraft fleet mix and Ireland's geographic position gave it a competitive advantage. And so Ireland is now positioning itself to become a secondary hub for Europe. And so that secondary hub facility is a core part of this capital investment program, and I'll bring you through that now. So some of the key statistics of what that growth might look like. We envisage the airport going from, currently we're about 31 million passengers per annum. We see ourselves moving from that to 40 million passengers per annum, which sounds like a significant growth, but that only represents about 4 to 6% growth per annum over the period. We'll go from 115 passengers on a peak day to 143. The pre-clearance facility going from 6,500 to 11,500, so almost doubling in US pre-clearance. And we're the only capital city in Europe with pre-clearance facilities. Transfers, we recognize that Ireland is a relatively small country, and that growth will be driven very much by a transfer product. So you'll see some of the proposals as I go through them. So 7,500 passengers today, which is a significant growth over the last 5 years, but that almost doubling to 15,000 as we go forward. And also, we've just recently commenced the construction of a second runway. We're the only Northern European city constructing a runway at the moment, and that will result in us moving from about 750 movements a day on the runways to 925, and it's expected that that will be delivered in 2022, right at the heart of our capital investment program. This capital investment program, it's important to understand our regulatory environment. Dublin Airport has had a long history of good planning, the lands for the northern runway being a good example of it. So you can see there's a second runway shown on the northern side of the airport. That's the runway which is currently under construction, the lands for which were acquired in the 70s and 80s. So Dublin has achieved this through good master planning, having good long sight visibility of what it wants to do. So we currently have a plan in place looking towards 55 million passengers per annum. And within that, each of our capital investment programs deliver on that. So it's each of those 5-year modules. The one we're currently talking about here is the one commencing in 2020 to 2024. But we're also currently trying to complete a supplementary one, which covers the period of 2017 to 20. And that is also being rolled out as we speak. I will be speaking about the 5-year 2020 to 2024, but there are a number of other significant investments which will be ongoing at the same time, and our current plan, which will close at the end of this year in 2019. So each of these building blocks grow towards our master plan of 55 million passengers per annum in a structured way. Where are we in our capital investment program? Well, our capital investment program is part of our regulation. Dublin Airport is a dominant market player in the island of Ireland, and as such we're a regulated entity, requiring us to go to our regulator every 5 years with our capital investment program. And that capital investment program then defines the maximum charges we can charge to our customers as they move through the airport. The process for this has been heavy engagement with our key airlines, in particular Aer Lingus, Ryanair, and the other major carriers coming in and out of the airport, and some of the other major stakeholders through the process. We started that in Q1 of last year through to Q3 of last year, and then we went into a formal consultation process. So a large session with a few hundred attendees where we walked all interested parties through what our proposals were. We then took the outputs from that process, and early this year, at the end of January, start of February, we submitted to our regulators our plan. And I'd say our plans to date have been positively received by our regulator. We've had a number of months now of engagement back and forth, and a lot of that is built around the positive engagement with our airlines, with our principal customers, reflected in the positive feedback so far from our regulator. We expect to get a decision in relation to our capital investment program in the next week or so. It's a draft decision, which then allows us to respond to the points raised by the regulator and for others to respond to it. But as I noted, generally so far the engagement has been positive. We have support for a large proportion of our proposals from the airlines, and as we move through this process, we expect to see things substantially the same. That would result in us reaching a final determination or decision by our regulator in September of this year. Most notably, we're so confident in a number of our proposals, we started the design process already. So you'll see a lot of work through what I'll show you in the next slides, showing an advanced process that we're working ahead of a decision, such as our level of confidence in the outcomes. Overall, the scale of this is significant. The capital investment program for 2020 to 2024 is 1.7. It's actually quite close to 1.8 billion when you take all the rounding into account. And it's got a number of key components. The south apron, which is where our hubbing operation is, and I'll show you that in a moment, that's about 500 million, 450 million. The north apron, which is where our short haul point-to-point carriers are based, that's about 250 million. Our core, and this is what we describe as keeping the lights on. This is the maintenance. But Dublin Airport has reached a point in its maintenance cycle where the investment required is very significant. So for example, in our airfield maintenance, we were required to replace a significant portion of our pavements. So we're talking about very significant tens of millions in that. And also within that core are our commercial projects. We've got 130 million euros worth of commercial projects, including car parks, F&B fit outs, etc. So very significant civil works within that. So when we say core and maintenance, we're talking about very significant works. Our airfield, And this is airfield capacity. This is building more capacity in our airfield as opposed to maintenance. That's about 200 million, most notably within which is a crossfield underpass or tunnel, which we'll talk about in a moment. And the last component is our piers and terminals. This is the piers and terminals not in the north or south apron of our airport. And this is bringing our terminal capacity up to meet all the other demands. For those of you familiar with Dublin Airport, this is principally focused around Terminal 1. Terminal 2 is a more modern facility. So Terminal 1, very significant investment to reconfigure that terminal. So there's a series of development zones which I'll walk through one after the other. I'll just quickly highlight them here. So the ones in green represent the north apron, and that's, I suppose, an orientation. You can see there to the left of those green areas, that's the current Pier 1 facility where Ryanair are principally located, and it'll be a further development of that, including for a pre-boarding zone to the very north of the airport. The yellow are the terminal developments, and as in this image you can note that it also includes for the development of multi-storey car park facilities. So the further development of our existing multi-storey car park facilities, all of which will be integrated with the proposed metro project. And for those of you familiar with the Dublin market, it's proposed that we will develop our first underground metro system, and that will have a stop in Dublin Airport. That's currently going through its statutory processes, and they will commence construction at the heart of the airport during this period also. So the construction of multi-storey car parks with the metro connection. The third component is the orange area, and that's the south, and that's the South Apron Hub, and I'll come to speak about that in some detail in a moment. And the blue are the airfield and the airfield development. And as noted, most significant within that, which you can't see here, is the underpass, which I'll come back to. So the North Apron area, so a small video will start here in a moment, which moves around. The north is about our O&D, our point-to-point traveller, and that requires us to extend our existing pier facility in the north of the airport. A very significant component of that will be demolition of the existing facilities up there. There's a number of hangars there which date from the 1940s and 50s, and those hangars will be re-provided by others at the end of our airfield. Now, while they don't form part of the capital investment program, obviously these will be developed in the same period, and tenders will be released separately by those entities to develop further hangar capacity. So extension of the existing Pier 1 to the east, and that requires a removal of the hangars and integration with those hangars. Development of additional busing lounges to go to the remote aircraft. You can see there's a whole series, there's 27 remote stands up there. Apron expansion as part of that. Development of a pre-boarding zone, so you can see to the very north there, there's an orange strip. There's a pre-boarding zone, and anyone who's traveled through the Terminal 2 facility may have used our existing one, which is a shuttle facility. We shuttle you out to a pre-boarding zone where we have gate hold rooms where you wait for your flight. Wide body enablement. One of the key areas of growth we see is wide body capacity. The large aircraft, we see growth coming both from that Atlantic market I talked about. We also see the continued growth as is seen across Europe for Eastern carriers coming into the airport, building on the growth in recent years, including Singapore, Hainan, etc. coming in. And the associated demolitions and relocations, quite a significant number of relocations, existing occupants who need to make way, and there's a proposal for a 5,000 square metre building to house them as well. To the south, this is the facility I referred to earlier. The South Apron is our hubbing facility. The South Apron is where that transatlantic connection is made. So the proposal is to extend Terminal 2 with a new Pier 5, that large orange block extending from the side of Terminal 2. That block has been specifically designed to separate those passengers who've been cleared through a pre-clearance facility from those who are traveling into, say, a European destination. So a very specialized facility, which allows us maximize the opportunity we have. That pier will allow us bring in either 8 large aircraft or 8 small aircraft or 4 large aircraft into that pier, significantly increasing our capacity through there. It's a 3-story structure. and it's a complex structure because of the nature of having to keep the passengers separate from each other. That is then tied to our CBP facility. That's the US pre-clearance facility. So as a passenger, you fly into Ireland, you're cleared through here, and then it allows you to land at any domestic airport in America or domestic terminal in America. For example, the JetBlue terminal in JFK. So the expansion of that facility, which is quite an undertaking in its own right because it has to be done while the facility is kept live. Development of our Pier 4, it's a small project to increase our flexibility in the existing infrastructure. Development of Pier 3, and so as you can see, I'm moving up through the airfield, through the different piers. We're again looking to make sure that we get as many of these piers flexible as possible, so we want to enable that also for American operations. Development of a new pre-boarding zone. As I mentioned, we want one in the north, we want one in the south, and this is where you're bussed out to a gatehold room. Associated apron expansion, and again in the south, demolition and relocation. The demolition and relocation as part of this project is very extensive, and as Brian, my colleague, will explain to you in relation to the procurement, there is a large amount of enabling works required in this area in particular. There are 13 separate buildings which need to be taken down, and we need to re-provide for quite a number of those. And also an East Lands development, and when I say relocate people, this is where we're proposing to relocate a number of them. We will provide for service sites, and to get there we need to build a new road and a new bridge which crosses a public road. So an extensive relocation exercise. So this is the biggest single component of the project, and is also the one which is now most advanced. And again, Brian, my colleague, will talk about our procurement strategy for that. In the airfield components, as I mentioned earlier, there's a very significant amount of maintenance, but in terms of new developments, there are two particular projects which are proposed. The first of which is development of an underpass or tunnel under the airfield. This is about a kilometre-long tunnel which brings us underneath the existing crosswind runway. It's a relatively short tunnel, but it's a relatively complex tunnel. As you can see, we need to cross 4 live taxiways plus a live runway, which we can close for a limited period of time. So a complex project in that regard, also requiring us to get the ramps in around the live operational pier at its eastern end. So quite a complex undertaking of the project. The second component, which you can see in the bottom right there, is development of stands, which we refer to as the 5M stands. The 5M stands The 5M stands are 17 narrow body equivalent stands. So quite a significant development. Notably, that's a greenfield site which we can access from the land side. So it should be a more straightforward project. The last major component is the piers and terminals, and the focus here is very much on Terminal 1. For anyone familiar with Terminal 1, the existing security facility is on the departures level. It is proposed to take that and lift it up onto the level above it, and in that way releasing the space it currently occupies for us to extend our check-in facility on the land side and expand our departures lounge facility on the air side. So those three projects are interrelated, lifting security up onto a new slab, so we have to construct a new slab in a current void, and then extension of check-in and an extension of the departures lounge. So all of this, again, undertaken in a live operating environment, so very extensive. In addition to that, we're going to refurbish our baggage reclaim hall, which is now quite dated and requires extension of existing baggage belts, and upgrade works to our immigration and other smaller facilities. And as I mentioned earlier, the forecourt works. That's the works to build multi-story car parks. It's also proposed to move our current drop-off curbs, so they'll move from the face of the terminal where they are at the moment out into the centre of the airport. So we will have the multi-story car parks, the metro and the curbs co-located in one location. A significant and complex undertaking. Terminal 2, a more modern terminal, requires relatively limited intervention. So some work in security and some work with our check-in hall, but in the scheme of things, a relatively limited intervention. And finally, in terms of projects, and not last and least are the other projects. There's a range of other projects which are required to support the growth of Dublin Airport as a modern airport, but also meet our requirements in terms of development and being a best practice airport. Most notably, right at the heart of that slide is the environmental compliance project. Dublin Airport today is constrained from a drainage perspective. We have only one significant outfall from the airport. And in order to continue to use that outfall, we need to provide for significant levels of treated runoff and storage of runoff. So very significant environmental compliance works required in that area. We also have to build a bridge, I mentioned earlier, for relocations. We have to provide for new electric charging facilities, provide for fuel hydrants on all contact stands through the airfield, which will be implemented as part of that maintenance package. So when we're digging up the pavement to maintain it, we'll put in the new hydrants, a very significant development on that part. And as all of this grows, obviously we need to grow the background, the support facilities. So we have to grow our office facilities, which are currently spread across the campus. We have to grow our car parking capacity, our car hire capacity. So all of these also grow. And all of these together are a very significant piece of work. And all of that has to be done in a very short period of time. This is the single largest capital investment program Dublin Airport has ever undertaken. It also represents one of the largest capital investments in the island of Ireland. But it has a distinct advantage and challenge. It's all been undertaken on a single site. So all of this work occurs in a single site. So from the perspective of a supplier, be that a designer, a project management office, or a contractor, it provides the opportunity to engage with Dublin Airport and to have that outlook of work within a single physical environment over at least the next 5 years as we go forward. And as we noted at the start of this, Dublin Airport has plans beyond this capital investment programme to further develop towards the 55 million passengers per annum, which at very modest levels of growth is likely to occur. We have a logistical challenge. We need to get on and off site, and we have a number of projects which deal with that. If you visit the Commission for Aviation Regulations website, you can see the full suite of projects there in our submission document. It's a number of logistics projects, accommodation offices, planning. The Irish regulatory environment from a planning perspective is complex, and we have a lot of work to do, or we've commenced a lot of work already in working with the state authorities and local government to achieve that. Access for construction logistics, access for for passengers coming to and from the airport while all of this is happening is complex. And through all of this, we need to keep the airport open, and we need to allow the airport to grow. So a very significant challenge. And this is the reason that we're reaching out to European contractors and suppliers. We recognize the scale of this challenge. We recognize that Ireland is already a country with a lot of pressures on its infrastructure market, and we need to engage with the large and the specialized players in the European market in order to assist us in delivering this. And on that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Brian. Brian is going to talk you through what are the principal services and what our plans are in relation to procuring those services. So, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Good afternoon. As Mark said, my name is Brian Collier, and I'm the Head of Construction Procurement for Dublin Airport. And as Mark has explained over the last few minutes, we have a lot of work coming up over the next 5 to 10 years. And he's given me the unenviable task of trying to deliver it all for value for money. So just to give you an idea of what we're looking for at the moment, we're looking for contractors and we're looking for consultants. Contractors, civil, mechanical, building contractors, specialist subcontractors in areas like concrete, aggregates, facades, glazing. We're also looking for consultants to help us, civil, architectural, M&E, structural, program managers, cost consultants. So everything we're looking for at the moment. We had a pin notice up on e-tenders, and it just was to advise people of what we were doing over the next few years. It actually closed on Friday, and it was just for information purposes only. It wasn't serving any other issues apart from that. So we are now about to start in the whole process of advertising the different projects we have. Just to give you an update about Dublin Airport, we are under the EU directives, we're a utility, and so we procure that way. Basically, any works contracts, we would have a threshold of 5.5 million and supplies and services of 440. We tend to do it in two ways. If it's below threshold, we will set up frameworks and we will do selective tendering and one-offs. The majority of what we're doing now over the next few years is going to well exceed 5 million. So we will be doing a lot of frameworks that we're going to be setting up now. We have just advertised on Friday, and it's available now, for an airfield framework, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And we'll also be doing one-offs contracts as well over the next few years. So basically, over the last couple of years, we've taken on board things that people have said to us in the market and what the guys in AMD and Dublin Airport have said to us. And we've taken that on board sort of to try and improve the way we deliver projects. And we've done market engagement earlier this year and late last year, and we've heard back from a lot of companies, and we've taken that on board as well. So what we're trying to do now is go into a much more partnership approach with the market. And we think this will help everybody. It'll give us, access to contractor for a longer period of time, guaranteed amount of work for them. So we feel we can really bring a partnership approach to that. Part of that is then the collaborative working. We're starting to use the NEC contracts, and we'll be using NEC4 from the majority of our construction contracts going forward. We're looking at the sharing of the risk. Previously, we would have put all the risk onto the consultant and the contractors. We've now taken a new mature look at that, where we're identifying who's best placed to manage the risk, and we're putting that risk with them. We're looking at incentivizations, pain gain mechanisms, so that if you deliver on time and under budget, there is something in it for you there. Target cost as well, we're looking at that. And one of the big things is flexibility. That's my clients in Dublin Airport, that's what they want. They want flexibility. They want us to be able to bring people in quick. And that ties into the whole partnership approach, where we would have contractors that are based at the airport and are able to start working straight away. What we've been looking for from the market over the last 4 months is feedback. And we've got a lot of it. We've met 50 companies over the last 2 months for one-on-one sessions where they've been at our previous presentations. They've given us a lot of very useful feedback, and that's helped change our mind about some of the things we were thinking about. And just two very important hints for people is the procurement process. When we run it, we can deal with questions that people ask them during the process. Once the process is closed, I can't change it because you might have a question at that stage. So please ask questions as early as you can in the process. And the quality of submissions, they need to be very good. As you can imagine, there's going to be a lot of competition now. We'd expect people to be answering the questions we're asking. A lot of the submissions we get is people giving a question that they think was what we were looking for, but it's actually not. So please ask questions early and make sure you're answering the question we asked. As I mentioned, we're looking at setting up a lot of frameworks: general contracting, mechanical and electrical contractor, specialist contractors, concrete, gravel, steel, glazing, tiles. And the way we're setting up these frameworks is some of them are going to be rotational, where we may have 3 companies on it and we just rotate between the 3 companies. Some of them may be cascading rotational, where again, we may have a few more companies, we might have 6 companies, and we invite 4 to bid each time, and we rotate that around. We'll also have mini competitions. We're looking at fixing rates for some of our frameworks with contractors and consultants now when we appoint them, but that building in an annual mechanism to review those rates. And really important part of all this is performance management. Every contract that we will place will have a full list of KPIs and how we will mark them and measure them. And we'll be expecting the contractors and consultants and suppliers to exceed them at all times. One of the big things we've changed as well is we would have done previously a lot of individual projects, which would have been a lot of tendering, We would have been running into over 100 tenders a year. We're looking now at bundling a lot of the projects, and Mark discussed that. Those 4 main areas that we've discussed, they would have all had a lot of individual projects in it. We're now looking at bundling them and going with bigger contracts. We're also looking at the RFI period. Previously, we only have to do it for 30 days, but we've decided to extend it to 60 days now in most cases, which we feel will give people a lot better time to go out, see if they want to partner or JV with other companies, give them time to do that. And we'll also allow you in the first few weeks of the process to come in and meet us. We'll give a bit more detail about what we're looking for. If you don't know us, you can introduce your company to us, and we'll allow that to happen. So we think by going to 60 days, that will help everybody. We are also looking at some things internally at the moment that we think will help deliver value for money overall. We're looking at owner-controlled insurance policies where possible. We're looking at batching plants on sites. We're looking at a logistics centre, and we're starting the process for the first phase of that in the next couple of weeks, which will lead to a larger logistics centre being on site, hopefully in a couple of years. We're going with standardisation, a minimum technical solution type process, where we're going out to the market for what we need, which may be not what we want, but it's what we need to deliver a service to the customers. Brexit, we will deal with that in a fair manner if it ever actually happens or when it happens. As I mentioned, construction inflation in Ireland is quite high, so when we do enter into contracts with people fixing the rates, we'll allow an annual mechanism in place there to review those rates. We're looking at making as much of the work as possible landside. As Mark mentioned, Apron 5M, even though it is airside, we feel that we can deliver that project as a landside project. Apron 5H will be a landside project as well. So where possible, we will make it landside, which will make it easier for access to sites. By going with this partnership approach I mentioned, we can get people security cleared much earlier in the process, which means that they can hit site quicker. And we're looking at centralized training at the moment. We have training online in classrooms as well, and we're looking at having it in one process for all training. Whole life cycle cost, very important to us. We're looking at that in everything we do now. I also look after asset care procurement, so it's important that when we're building it, we're taking into account what the ongoing OPEX costs are going to be. We're hoping to have our Dublin Airport website updated in the next few weeks or months, where we'll give details there what's coming up and what we're about to go out to the market with, and maybe who's won different contracts as well, with contact details, and people can contact them directly if they wish. So as Mark mentioned, there's 4 main portfolios of work: the South Apron, the North Apron, the piers and terminals, and the airfields, and I'll just talk about them all briefly where we are with them. On the South Area development, we are almost finalising our procurement process. We're meeting this afternoon to do that, and at the moment we have 3 main packages of work. There's going to be an enabling works package to do all the demolitions and relocations that we've been discussing, and that's about a 40 to 50 million euro contract, and we hope to go out to that in the next few months. We're hoping to go out for a project management or program management office in the next couple of weeks. We're just finalising the scope of that at the moment, and that will go out through tenders as everything will. We're also going to be appointing a principal contractor to deliver the whole South Apron. That will include building the new pier, the CBP upgrades, and all the apron works there as well. So that's about a 400 million euro package. And again, we would hope that to be going out to the market in probably May or early June. On the piers and terminals, we're still coming up to finalising a strategy on that. We have a number of new ideas that we've discussed with people in the last few months, and we're looking at that at the moment. There's basically 8 main programs of work. Program 1 is a whole refurbishment of T1, moving the security up onto from the departures to the mezzanine level, new access points for people as well. So we're looking at that as one big contract. We also have the T2 passenger journey, multi-storey car parks and curbs, refurbishment of T1, which is 2 new office areas on level 4 and 5, a life safety system upgrade, and upgraded Pier 3 and the West Haven facilities. Those 8 programs, Programme 1 is about 200 million, and then Programmes 2 to 7 range in value from about 15 to about 50 million. Programme number 8 is being called a miscellaneous programme at the moment, but it's actually about 100 million is going to go through that over the next 5 years. But it will be much smaller works, be works ranging from 10,000 euros up to 10 million will be the largest package going through that. The majority of them would be about maximum about 5 or 6 million. What we're looking at the moment originally was to have a panel of contractors and consultants to do the 7 main programs. We're now thinking that we might have 1 contractor for T1 and 1 consultant for T1, and we're trying to finalize that at the moment, and we'd have the same for T2, but that we will have smaller frameworks for works up to the 10 million, and we're working on that at the moment, and we expect the consultants for T1 and T2 to hit the market in May or June. And the minor works, as I mentioned, there's going to be 2 lots, 1 up to 3 million and 1 from 3 to 10 million. A lot of work going through that. And we're going to set up a lot of smaller consultancies, specialist, architectural, project management, cost consultancy to deal with them. Whereas for the larger programs of work, we'll have a multidisciplinary team leading all that. On the airside civils, we went out to the market on Friday for that, and it's available now to download on www.etenders.gov.ie. We're looking for 2 contractors. Basically, there's 2 lots. We're looking for a contractor for lot 1, which is the north side and the west of Dublin Airport, and 1 contractor for the central and south areas. All the details are on eTenders at the moment about that. We expect each lot to be worth about 120 million over the next 5 years. And so if you're interested in civil works, I advise you to go on to eTenders now, and you can see all the details there. And this just briefly what we're hoping to do. I did these slides last week. We've published it since. And we'll be going out for airside design consultants over the next couple of months as well. And that's really the procurement process that we're looking at the moment. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting insights. Mark, can I ask you to come here to join us? If there's any questions, please feel free to ask. I see there was already one question. Is renewable energy photovoltaic built into the building skin? Is this a topic?
Yep, there is a project within, I think it's within what we described as the core projects. Ireland has in the last number of years passed some legislation requiring any state bodies or state, like ourselves, a semi-state organisation, to provide for near zero energy. So there's a requirement on us to provide for a energy production facility. So within the suite of projects, there's an identified, I think it's 10 million euros worth of photovoltaic as a standalone project, not necessarily with the buildings, because I suppose there was limited space, and also the restrictions of working in an airfield require us to be particular where we locate these. But there is a 10 million euro project for exactly that purpose.
Thank you very much. If there's other questions, there's another question. I forgot to mention before, you will get all the slides. We will send you the slides, and also a YouTube link where you will find the video of today's webinar in the coming couple of days. And we also happily provide you with the contact details of Brian, in case you have any further questions. So, are you seeking consultancy in traffic engineering?
There is an existing appointment. The airport is currently capped at 32 million passengers per annum by a planning decision we received on Terminal 2, which is the terminal you can see under construction there. and we have a consultant appointed to look at removing that gap to bring us to a higher figure. So they're currently working away, but each one of these projects will require traffic assessments to be undertaken. So both from an environmental point of view and for airport operations, there will be a need for local traffic assessments. So the global traffic picture is currently appointed, but the more localized ones, there will be a need for.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next question. Would you be interested in buying electrical appliances like fuses, lights, switches, and so on directly, or only via your electricians?
What we're looking at the moment is obviously we have, portfolio of work. So we're looking at whether we should be buying at a higher level ourselves rather than getting the contractors to deliver. So we're looking at lifts, escalators, and travelators, items like that at the moment, whether we should contract directly for them and then free issue them to contractors. And for smaller appliances, we would definitely be leaving that with the contractors. We just don't think we'd have the capacity to deliver that ourselves.
Perfect. We did a cooperation with Airport Vienna in visualization. Is there a need for visualization or VR test of space?
Yeah, this is, I suppose, a very current question or issue. Through development of the capital investment program, we spent a lot of time thinking about passengers and how passengers move through the airport. And we considered whether we look at through a visual VR environment or not. And at the time, principally because we had to move through the project quickly, we didn't. But now, as we look in more, start the process looking in more detail at areas such as security and how the passenger will experience security, we will be considering VR or the use of VR in that area. So it could potentially arise. It is likely to form part of one of the larger consultancy packages as a service requested, but may also be a singular appointment or reach out.
Perfect. Next questions. Are there any plans for lighting design on the facade?
For lighting design on the facade?
Yeah, on the facade.
There's no particular ones. The facade at the moment is a project which is quite generic in its description. It just calls for replacement of the existing facade on Terminal 1. But I would imagine that there shall be lighting as part of that. It'll be a feature of it. It's quite an extensive project. And I suppose the thing to note about the facade project is while the projects within the document are presented individually, and that's what we have to do as part of our regulatory environment, they need to be thought about in a more integrated fashion. So the facade project, which I think is represented as a 20 million plus project, that has to be delivered also in conjunction with the refurbishment of the office spaces on the 4th and 5th floor of that building. So the projects need to be considered collectively and are very large projects when you think about them like that, and lighting and all of these aspects which are, they will be required, will be in as part of it, I would imagine, when we get to that level of detail.
Okay, thanks. Will there be a demand for signage and digital signage and guiding systems?
Yeah, absolutely. There's digital signage already. With commercial, have a series of digital signs in there already as a standalone project, and that's on an advertising side, as revenue generating. But I would imagine that there will be digital signage. I immediately can think we have a particular issue associated with moving of our curbs, which is going to require us to put in very, very heavy signage in terms of clear and bespoke signage for our passengers. So I think so, yeah.
Good. Acoustic consultants already covered?
Acoustic noise consultants. Yes, I think we do have a framework for noise consultants. One of my colleagues, if you want to contact me direct, I can find out more about that. It wasn't done as part of the construction side of the house, it was done as a professional service, but I think they do have something in place. But feel free to contact me and I'll find out more for you.
And will the apron lighting be sourced by general contraction or by Dublin Airport?
The apron lighting, we have a contract in place at the moment. with a supplier for all our AGL equipment, including signage, regulators, lighting, and that contract has another 2 or 3 years to run. So at the moment, our plan would be that we will buy the equipment off them and free issue it to the main contractors on the different projects. That may change, but at the moment, that is our position.
Perfect. Is there any more questions? I think we are, there was another one. Okay. We are a small supplier for slip form systems, inclusive Austrian labor. Is there any concrete course or concrete tank foreseen higher than 20 meters?
Good question. I'm trying to think of, no, I don't believe that there is any significant concrete structure outside of, say, cores in the piers. There would be there's nothing on the scale of the tower which is being constructed, definitely. And in terms of large tanking facilities, the airport is quite well reserved at the moment with its own reservoir. So I don't believe so at this time.
You mentioned before when you talked the storage system for the water of the runoff. Would this could this be something?
There may well be, as part of the design of attenuation, there may be a tank solution. At the moment, as it's described in the document, we're looking towards an open system. Dublin currently doesn't have any open systems, and that would be a pond rather than a tank.
Oh, okay.
But principally driven by cost considerations of constructing these tanks, we'd move to ponds, which are quite commonly used across Europe and the world.
Mm-hmm. Another. How to proceed contact for services. So I don't understand really the question.
I think what's the next step?
Contact Brian. As I mentioned, we advertise everything through e-tenders, www.etenders.gov.ie. All our new opportunities go out through that way. However, feel free to contact me directly now before we advertise, because once we advertise, I can't talk to you in this type of process. It all has to go through e-tenders. If you have queries about the airside civil contract, I can only deal with them through e-tenders now since we've published it. But any of the other projects and programs we've talked about, please feel free to contact me and I can find out more details for you.
We will send you your contact, Brian's contact details once we were sending you the video and all the slides to have all the information you would need. And there's no more questions coming in. I think we take it for you. It's okay if we still continue a bit. Okay. Do you have current FEGP frameworks with specific manufacturers, or will this be left with the contractors?
Fixed electrical ground power.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, we appointed a supplier for that last year. We ran an OJU process for that, and we appointed somebody for the next 5 years to provide that to us.
Yeah, I think it raises a point, which I think may have been in some of our longer packs from Brian's side of things. And there's a number of areas across the airport we want consistency of equipment. So things like FEGP are a good example where we have appointed and we'll hand it over to main contractors. But we'll have other areas such as potentially lifts and escalators, items such as that, where we will procure and then hand over to main contractors. So we have consistency with the same lift throughout the airport, for example.
Okay. What are the next steps? I think you already you answered that.
Yeah.
I got one question. You say you have now contractors. They basically, you tender for the big contractors for the big contracts.
Yeah.
So you also can see on e-tender who basically won this big contract. In case you have like products or services you would want to supply to these contractors. Or how is this next steps?
We will do, for all the contracts we award, we will do a contract award notice through e-tenders, which will appear on the OJU. We're also thinking about having something on our own Dublin Airport website where we'll list all the main contractors and their contact details as well, so that people can contact them directly. Yeah, it's a very good point. We get a lot of people ringing us directly wanting to know the details of the contract. So we think if we advertise that a bit better, who's successful, it will help the whole market and ultimately us.
Yeah, but I suppose a key thing to note, I suppose, as part of this presentation, is that while we're extending the periods of RFIs and RFTs, at 60 days, that does not provide you really an opportunity to seek out a partner in Ireland to implement a project. So if you believe, for example, whoever mentioned the slip form, if you believe that there is an opportunity for you to work within Ireland and you may want to partner with an Irish company to deliver that, now is the time to reach out and start to build those relationships and those contacts. There's a limited number of Irish partners who could work at this scale. So while obviously as an airport we can't point towards any of them, they're readily identifiable, and maybe our colleagues here from Austria can assist. But those partnerships, to think about it now, to establish the contacts now, so when the advertisement comes, you're in a position to move.
And that's exactly, thank you for the introduction. That's exactly what we are doing here. So we help Austrian companies to find local partners in order to participate in this kind of tenders. So thanks for giving us like double the time now to find like double the time to find partners for Austrian companies. I think there's no more questions coming in. You will be around for a bit, so I think if you have now questions during the next presentation, which also are regarding the Dublin Airport Authority, just put them into the chat. I think we can pick them up a little bit later. And thanks to the two of you.
Thank you very much.
And I will introduce you now to Ursula Tipp. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ursula is working with Tipp McKnight solicitors, and has vast experience in consulting, especially also Austrian companies in the area of like legal and tax. And we'll talk to you today in German, we said, because it's a lot of very specific, I don't know, like specific topics regarding legal issues. And I figured that our participants today were mainly German speaking, and this like area of expertise is more for companies working directly from Austria to Ireland. And if you have any questions, Ursula is very, very happy to provide information also in English, but she will continue now in German. Okay, Ursula, the floor is yours.
Ja, hallo. Es freut mich, dass so ein großes Interesse besteht an diesem Projekt. Ich denke, dass der Flughafen hier in Irland natürlich ist ein sehr, sehr großes Projekt, und mit ein bisschen Glück, denke ich, werden einige der Firmen, die jetzt zuschauen, zuhören, und vielleicht auch Firmen, die später dieses Video sehen, werden doch sozusagen ihre sozusagen, ja, vielleicht ihre Aufträge in Irland finden. Wir haben gehört gerade von den beiden Experten, dass diese Projekte meistens also ausgeschrieben werden via diesem E-Tender. Das heißt, es ist wichtig, dass Sie sich als erstes einmal überlegen, wie werden Sie hier in Irland auftreten. Das heißt, natürlich können Sie als Hauptunternehmer hier tätig werden, aber das hieße, Sie haben es gehört von den Herren gerade, dass Sie möglicherweise einen dieser Großaufträge sozusagen dafür beauftragt werden müssten. Das ist häufig, wenn Sie noch nicht in Irland tätig waren, vorher eher etwas, ich will mal sagen, etwas unwahrscheinlicher, da ja Sie noch nicht so, was man hier im Englischen nennt, Track Record in Irland haben. Damit ist eigentlich, ja, steht fast fest, dass Sie in den meisten Fällen als sogenannter Subunternehmer tätig werden. Als Subunternehmer können Sie in Irland ja, sich im Grunde sozusagen dem Hauptunternehmer anschließen und bestimmte Aufgabenbereiche abdecken, die der Hauptunternehmer hat als Aufgaben. Das können teilweise sehr, sehr große Verträge sein. Also wenn der Hauptauftraggeber einen Vertrag über 150, 250 Millionen Euro gewonnen hat, haben Sie vielleicht einen Unterauftrag für 35 Millionen. Es sind also auf keinen Fall kleine Verträge, die Sie dann abwickeln. Es ist einfach nur, dass Sie noch jemanden über sich haben. Wichtig ist dann für Sie als erster Schritt, dass Sie sich sozusagen, dass Sie wirklich einen Vertrag abschließen. Das klingt vielleicht etwas sehr, naja, ungewöhnlich für Sie, Sie darauf hinzuweisen, aber es gibt in der Baubranche, auch gerade in Irland, immer wieder das Problem, dass zunächst nur sogenannte Letters of Intent, also solche Absichtserklärungen unterschrieben werden. Und diese sind aber nach irischem Recht nicht rechtlich verbindlich. Das heißt, es ist unbedingt wichtig, dass Sie mit Ihrem Hauptauftraggeber einen wirklichen Vertrag abschließen. Zweitens, oder auch sehr wichtig, die Verträge sind in Irland wesentlich länger als in Österreich üblich. Das hängt mit dem Rechtssystem in Irland zusammen. Wir haben hier ein sogenanntes Common Law System. Das heißt, alles, was Sie regeln möchten, muss notwendigerweise in den Vertrag aufgenommen werden. Sie können sich nicht darauf verlassen, dass es irgendwo Gesetze gibt, in denen diese Sachen sozusagen aufgeführt sind. Es ist also sehr, sehr wichtig, dass Sie sich den Vertrag anschauen, der Ihnen angeboten wird, weil in den meisten Fällen wird dieser Vertrag von Ihrem Hauptauftraggeber sozusagen vorbereitet. Lesen Sie sich den Vertrag gut durch und fragen Sie, falls nötig, auch möglicherweise einen Experten, also Sie können auch gerne mich anrufen oder mir den Vertrag zur Prüfung zukommen lassen, damit Ihnen klar ist, auf was Sie sich sozusagen in Irland einlassen. Da sozusagen die Verträge abweichen von dem, was Sie in Österreich oder in Deutschland gewöhnt sind. Ich komme jetzt kurz zu den steuerlichen Aspekten. Dies ist sehr wichtig, weil wenn Sie nun, stellen wir uns vor, Sie haben jetzt einen Vertrag in Irland an Land gezogen, Sie haben einen Vertrag unterschrieben für vielleicht, sagen wir mal, 50 Millionen, dann kommt der nächste Punkt, was müssen Sie jetzt in Irland an Vorschriften in steuerlicher Sicht beachten. Da ist zunächst einmal die sogenannte Umsatzsteuer oder Mehrwertsteuer zu nennen. Bei Bau- und Montagearbeiten, was Sie ja vielleicht ausführen werden, es gibt auch Consultancies, kann andere Sachen sein, ist grundsätzlich ein ermäßigter Steuersatz von 13,5% anzuwenden. Wichtig ist auf jeden Fall, dass Sie sich auch dort sozusagen ein bisschen Rat holen, weil es sozusagen etwas anders ist, als Sie das aus Österreich kennen. Es kommt darauf an, wie Sie in Irland tätig werden, ob Sie sich selbst auch als für die Umsatzsteuer, also für die VAT, registrieren müssen. Es kann aber durchaus sein, dass Sie eine solche Registrierung benötigen. Und wichtig, bei der Anmeldung müssten Sie dann schon Ihren Bauvertrag oder das Vertragswerk, was Sie abgeschlossen haben, sollte vorgelegt werden. Außerhalb der VAT ist als weitere Steuer auch noch wichtig zu nennen die ACT, die sogenannte Bauabzugsteuer. Dies ist eine Steuer, die Sie in den meisten Fällen, sobald Sie in irgendeiner Weise sozusagen Bautätigkeiten haben, die in den meisten Fällen anfällt. Diese Steuer ist vielleicht sogar noch wichtiger. Ja, diese Steuer ist im Zweifel vielleicht noch wichtiger als die Kenntnis in Bezug auf die Umsatzsteuer, weil bei der Umsatzsteuer oder der VAT Sie häufig, wenn Sie als Subunternehmer tätig sind, wie jetzt in meinem Beispiel, dann werden Sie die Rechnung, die Sie an Ihren Auftraggeber senden, die wird nach dem sogenannten Reverse Charge Verfahren gestellt werden, was Sie auch schon aus Österreich natürlich kennen. Und dann geht die Steuerschuld, also die Umsatzsteuer oder Mehrwertsteuerschuld auf den Auftraggeber über. Aber Sie haben in jedem Fall eine Pflicht, sich für die Bauabzugsteuer anzumelden. Dies ist wichtig, weil Sie häufig dann bei der Auszahlung, die sozusagen Ihr Auftraggeber an Sie vornimmt, und das ist ja im Grunde wichtig für Ihr Cashflow, dass dort dann, wenn Sie nicht registriert sind, teilweise erst 35% einbehalten werden müssen. Das bekommen Sie wieder, das können Sie sich wiederholen. Das kann aber 6 bis 8 Wochen dauern, sodass es diese ACT, also die Relevant Contract Tax, auf jeden Fall, dass Sie dort eine Anmeldung anstreben sollten, bevor Sie sozusagen oder schon zu dem Zeitpunkt, wo Sie gerade den Vertrag gewonnen haben, damit Sie Zeit haben, diese Rate zumindest auf 20 oder sogar auf 0% runterzusetzen. Eine weitere Steuer, die durchaus bei diesen größeren Projekten wie jetzt am Flughafen zur Anwendung kommt, ist die Lohnsteuer. Da ist es in Irland eine unabhängig vom Doppelbesteuerungsabkommen. Sie alle kennen das Doppelbesteuerungsabkommen, was bedeutet, wenn Ihre Arbeitnehmer, die hier in Irland, also Sie bringen Ihre eigenen Arbeitnehmer ja häufig mit, die werden dann dort hier dann die Arbeiten ausführen. Wenn diese über 183 Tagen in Irland sind, dann kennen Sie das, dann wird die Lohnsteuerpflicht bereits nach dem irisch-österreichischen Doppelbesteuerungsabkommen geht dann auf Irland über. Aber was weniger bekannt ist, weil es eben auch nicht in den Doppelbesteuerungsabkommen drin steht, sondern sozusagen irische Gesetzgebung ist, dass sie sozusagen ab 60 Tagen schon eine Registrierung ihrer Arbeitnehmer hier in Irland vornehmen müssen. Und das ist sehr wichtig. Sie können dann eine sogenannte Ausnahmegenehmigung hier in Irland sozusagen bekommen, sodass letztendlich die Lohnsteuer weiterhin einfach in Österreich abgeführt ist. Aber es ist etwas, ich will es mal nennen, Papierkram, Papieraufwand. Und das sollten Sie auch schon dann bei Vertragsunterzeichnung, sollten Sie sich um diese Punkte kümmern. Also bei der Steuer gibt es 3 große Bereiche, um die Sie sich kümmern müssen. Die Umsatzsteuer oder VAT, die Bauabzugsteuer oder RCT und die Lohnsteuer oder dann aufgeteilt auf 3 PAYE, PRSI, USC. Das sind im Grunde die 3 Lohnsteuerelemente in Irland. Weniger wichtig in den meisten Fällen wird die Körperschaftssteuer sein, die Corporation Tax, da Sie in Irland normalerweise wahrscheinlich mit Ihren Projekten unter 12 Monaten hier am Airport tätig werden, insbesondere wenn Sie als Subunternehmer tätig sind. Sollten Sie aber an einem möglicherweise, wenn Sie sich vorstellen, Sie würden als Hauptauftragnehmer den Tunnelbau zum Beispiel, wir haben gehört, es wird ein 1 Kilometer langer Tunnel unter den Runways gebaut werden, wenn Sie zum Beispiel diesen Tunnel bauen würden und das möglicherweise als Hauptauftragnehmer direkt von Dublin Airport und Sie wären über 12 Monate tätig an diesem Tunnelbau, dann würde diese Baustelle sozusagen eine Permanent Establishment, eine sogenannte Betriebsstätte hervorrufen. Und zwar, das kennen Sie wahrscheinlich, weil sich das eben aus dem österreichisch-irischen Doppelbesteuerungsabkommen ergibt. Und dann wären die Einkünfte, die sich dieser Betriebsstätte zuzuordnen lassen, also die Einkünfte in meinem Fall jetzt von diesem Tunnelbau, die wären dann hier in Irland der Körperschaftssteuer unterworfen mit 12,5%. Sie wissen, wir sind in Irland, was die Körperschaftssteuer angeht, ein Niedrigsteuerland und Sie würden dann entsprechend nach der Versteuerung der Betriebsstätte hier in Irland das Ganze nach Österreich bringen und dort dann noch einen gewissen anderen Satz zahlen, um es sozusagen auf österreichisches Niveau zu ziehen. Es wäre also insofern nur etwas Aufwand, aber rechnerisch würde sich sozusagen für Sie kein Unterschied ergeben. Dies, wie gesagt, kommt meistens nur in Betracht, wenn Ihre Baustelle länger als 12 Monate dauert oder wenn Sie sich entscheiden sollten, hier in Irland eine Limited und vielleicht sogar eine Betriebsstätte bewusst aufzubauen. Die meisten Unternehmen bleiben aber sozusagen so gesehen in Österreich und entsenden nur ihre Arbeitnehmer und ihre Geräte hierhin und sind meistens auch unter 12 Monaten in Irland tätig. Wichtig vielleicht auch noch die arbeitsrechtlichen Aspekte, wenn Sie dann hier Arbeitnehmer also mit nach Irland bringen, dass diese auch noch nach der Entsendungsrichtlinie, die auch in Österreich Anwendung findet, aber eben auch in Irland, dass die dort hier in Irland angemeldet werden müssen. Wichtig vielleicht auch noch, dass es gewisse Höchstarbeitszeiten gibt in Irland, die ihre Arbeitnehmer dann nur tätig sein dürfen in der Woche. Das sind 48 Stunden. Allerdings gibt es in Irland eine Regelung, dass man dies auf einen 4-Monats-Zeitraum sehen kann, sodass sie durchaus sage ich mal, in wichtigen Zeiten, wenn gerade sehr wichtige Arbeiten auf der Baustelle durchzuführen sind, für 1 oder 2 Wochen die Arbeitnehmer länger als 48, zum Beispiel auch durchaus 60 oder 70 Stunden in der Woche arbeiten lassen können. Klar, es sind gewisse Ruhezeiten einzuhalten. Es gibt auch einen gewissen Mindestlohn für Arbeitnehmer in Irland. Da gibt es den sogenannten National Minimum Wage Act. Allerdings sind für die meisten Löhne, die Sie zahlen würde, zum Beispiel in der Baubranche, gibt es dann noch Extraverträge und dort sollte man sich an den entsprechenden Stellen auch frühzeitig informieren, welche Löhne zu zahlen sind. Allerdings kann man allgemein sagen, wenn Sie das Lohnniveau vergleichen zwischen was Sie in Österreich zahlen und was hier gezahlt wird, haben Sie normalerweise keine Probleme. Das heißt, das, was Sie in Österreich zahlen, Ihren Mitarbeitern und Arbeitnehmern und denjenigen, die dann hier in Irland tätig werden, das sollte sozusagen ausreichen. Aber es könnte teilweise mal, wenn Sie einen Apprentice haben oder irgendjemanden, der besonders wenig verdient, dass Sie da es möglicherweise aufstocken müssen. Anderenfalls kann man aber im Generellen sagen, die arbeitsrechtlichen Vorschriften in Irland sind nicht besonders schwierig einzuhalten. Wichtig ist nur, dass sie automatisch damit, dass die Mitarbeiter hier in Irland tätig sind, dass sie unter irisches Arbeitsrecht fallen. Wichtig auch noch die Versicherung der Baustelle. Wenn Sie in die Bauverträge in Irland und die Verträge, die zum Beispiel auch jetzt hier die Dublin Airport Ihnen anbieten würden, verlangen normalerweise umfangreiche Garantien und Versicherungen. Diese Versicherungen, wie zum Beispiel die Employers Liability Insurance, die Public and Product Liability, die Professional Indemnity, das sind spezielle Haftpflichtversicherungen, die man in Österreich zwar zu einem gewissen Teil auch kennt, die aber dort die Haftungssummen sind wesentlich höher, die in Irland verlangt werden. Deswegen ist es sehr wichtig, sich eben sozusagen, wenn Sie sich überlegen, sich für ein Projekt zu bewerben und auf zum Beispiel diesem E-Government-Tender, was eben ja auch von Brian erwähnt wurde, da können Sie sehr schön auf der Website und bei dem einzelnen Tender genau sehen, was von Ihnen verlangt wird. Und deswegen sollten Sie sich das dann genauestens anschauen, weil gerade eben diese Versicherungssummen teilweise wesentlich höher sind. Und aus meiner Erfahrung teilweise die Unternehmen, zum Beispiel wie aus Österreich, dann Probleme haben, diese Risiken abzudecken mit ihren normalen Versicherern aus Österreich. Teilweise bieten die dann diese Art Versicherung fürs Ausland oder für Irland nicht an und sie müssen dann noch an andere internationale Versicherer herantreten, um dieses sozusagen, sie haben ja teilweise schon bestimmte Versicherungen und müssen die dann aufstocken. Das ist wichtig, da das teilweise ein bisschen zeitaufwendig ist, dass sie das möglichst auch frühzeitig sich darum kümmern. Wichtig natürlich auch, es wurde erwähnt eben vom Brian, die Sicherheitsvorschriften, also Health and Safety. Health and Safety richtet sich nach dem Safety, Health and Welfare at Work Act 2005 und 10 und anderen Ausführungsregulations. Als Allgemeines muss man wohl sagen, dass in Irland die Sicherheitsvorschriften noch genauer sind, als wir das aus Österreich, Deutschland oder sonst Kontinentaleuropa kennen. Wenn Sie daran denken, dass Sie wahrscheinlich finden, dass es in Österreich auch schon recht kompliziert ist, dann muss man bei den Health and Safety Anforderungen schon sagen, das ist in Irland nochmal wesentlich genauer. Daher ist es auch dort sehr wichtig, dass Sie sich sozusagen frühzeitig darum kümmern, weil alle Ihre Arbeitnehmer, die dann zum Beispiel hier auf der Baustelle am Dublin Airport dort mitarbeiten wollen, natürlich dezidiert sehr, sehr ja, sehr, sehr viele Anforderungen Anforderungen haben, zum Beispiel, Sie müssen Safe Pass Training machen. Da kann Ihnen aber auch hier die WKO natürlich zur Seite stehen und Ihnen helfen. Es wurde ja auch gesagt von Brian, dass bei bestimmten Aufträgen dann auch der Airport selbst sozusagen der Airport selbst wird diese Trainings anbieten, aber Sie sollten sich schon, weil ja dort auch Kosten mit verbunden sind und Sie das möglicherweise mit in Ihr Angebot mit aufnehmen wollen, sollten Sie sich also frühzeitig darum kümmern, was für Health and Safety Anforderungen es gibt. Also als Recap, sie sind etwas höher, als man das aus Österreich kennt. Und Sie müssen insofern sollten Sie sich frühzeitig darum kümmern. Wichtig ist vielleicht auch noch, dass es mittlerweile nicht mehr dieses System gibt, dass man erst bezahlt wird, wenn der Hauptauftraggeber bezahlt wurde. Das ist aber für Sie gut, sodass Sie sozusagen Ihre Rechnungen zeitnah stellen können für Ihre Aufträge und dann auch eigentlich zeitnah bezahlt werden sollten. Ja, das war jetzt ein kleiner Überblick über, was Sie in Irland erwartet. Also wichtig, dass Sie sich steuerlich und rechtlich etwas mit dem irischen Recht sozusagen, ja, to familiarize yourself, weil Sie nicht davon ausgehen können, dass eben alles genauso ist, wie Sie das aus Österreich kennen. Allerdings sind wir natürlich jetzt alle in Europa und insofern sind ja auch die E-Tenders, der Tendering-Prozess ist eigentlich genauso, wie Sie das aus Österreich sonst für Großprojekte auch kennen. Ja, und mir bleibt jetzt eigentlich nur, Ihnen allen viel Glück zu wünschen und dass Sie möglichst viele Aufträge beim Dublin Airport ergattern und dann hoffentlich sehen wir Sie hier in Irland. Vielen Dank.
Super, Ursula. Vielen Dank. Sehr, sehr interessant, deine Ausführungen. Gibt es jetzt Fragen an die Frau Tipp? Ich darf nochmal darauf hinweisen, melden Sie sich, also auch bevor Sie wirklich an einer Ausschreibung hier teilnehmen, melden Sie sich bei uns beim AußenwirtschaftsCenter oder auch der Frau Tipp. Es ist einfach, es gibt hier einige Sachen, die auch mit Kosten verbunden sind. Also es geht nicht so sehr jetzt um den Mindestlohn, aber es kann sein, dass Sie eine spezielle Versicherung brauchen, dass die Mitarbeiter speziell geschult werden müssen. Du hast es gerade erwähnt. Ja. Also als Beispiel, in Anwaltskanzleien müssen die Anwälte nachweisbar ein Training erfahren, dass sie richtig hochheben, sollten Sie mal Papier hochheben oder sowas. Und das ist hier gesetzlich vorgeschrieben. Also das kennen wir aus Österreich in dieser Form nicht, ist aber mit Kosten verbunden und im Idealfall nehmen Sie das dann auch bei den Kosten für den Tender mit hinein. Ja. Nicht, dass Sie dann dass die Kosten dann auf Kosten der Marge gehen.
Ja, ich denke, das ist wichtig. Und wenn Sie selber Subunternehmer beauftragen wollen, auch daran zu denken, dass immer die Bauabzugsteuer eine Rolle spielt, dass also ein bisschen sozusagen einkalkuliert wird für die steuerlichen Anforderungen, für die rechtlichen Anforderungen, weil es doch etwas anders ist. Vor allen Dingen, wenn es Ihr erster Auftrag in Irland ist. Also ich gehe davon aus, dass Sie gut Englisch können, dass Sie den also lesen können, aber natürlich sind schon die rechtlichen Voraussetzungen sind etwas anders, die steuerlichen Voraussetzungen, Health and Safety ist alles etwas anders und ein bisschen mehr Zeit und Geld sollte man in die Hand nehmen, aber dann können die Geschäfte auch sehr lukrativ sein. Das muss man schon sagen. Also Irland ist ein guter Markt, denke ich, für die österreichischen Firmen.
Perfekt, das ist ein gutes Abschlusswort. Ja. Ich bitte jetzt noch Brian und Mark for our final goodbye.
Yeah.
Come on in, I think. So, thank you very much to all three of you for taking the time to enlighten Austrian companies on the Irish market, on possibilities with Dublin Airport. And I'm looking very much forward to help you for your endeavors in Ireland. And have a good afternoon.